What's going on, people? I am Swaver, and this is Opinionated Facts. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm joined by my amazing co-hosts, Lovejoy and Journey to Be Great. How y'all doing tonight, ladies?
I'm doing
Awesome.
good. How are you?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm doing really good. I want to thank y'all for being here first, and also I want to thank the listeners for coming and spending some time with us. Tonight's topic of discussion will be: is telling half truths and not the whole truth the same as just flat out lying, and competing against the love that someone receives from their parent? You know, we don't like to hold y'all and none of that there. So we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna start with Journey. Go ahead and kick it off for us, Journey.
Okay, so my question, because this is a conversation I was having the other day, is not telling the whole truth the same as lying, or is it worse, or not that bad? What's y'all opinion?
It's like the thing they say in court, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say this. It's a good topic for conversation. I think it depends on what's going on. Like, I mean, I guess I'm talking about how serious it is, but at the same time, I think if you lie, you just lie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If you omit the truth and you know somebody needs to know that information, and then you purposely tell them something different or choose to leave out certain parts, it's just a lie. Now, again, if it's something about, hey, did you take my lollipop? Or something like that. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. So sometimes it may be not perceived as that big of a deal, but depending on what it is, it could be looked at as just, you know what I'm saying? More serious. So, but at the end of the day, I think it is what it is. A lie.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to say, telling a partial truth is closer to just outlying because it's like you left out certain details. Now, what your reason for leaving the details, whether it was because you didn't want to be judged, or you were embarrassed, or you felt some type of way about it, or they caught you off guard, so you weren't prepared to be answering that type of question. So you leave out some certain parts of the information. But to me, it's still considered lying.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way. I feel like it's still the same as lying. And so I looked this up on Google and I came across this website called sitecentral.com. The article is titled Lying by Omission Isn't Harmful. Of course, not every single detail is necessary, but when you deliberately misrepresent the truth by hiding some of the facts, that's considered lying by omission. Swaver, like you mentioned, it may depend on the situation. So they gave a list of some situations. So for instance, if you tell whoever you're in a relationship with that you just got out of a long-term relationship, but you was really married, okay, that's
Oh
that's
no, no.
That's a
Come on.
lie.
Come
that's
on
a
now, man.
lie.
Come on now, man.
Here's another one. And again, I don't know. Y'all tell me. Telling whoever you're in a relationship with that you had fun golfing with friends, but you didn't mention you ran into your ex while you were golfing.
Oh man.
So is that something that like you might not tell that part, but how do y'all feel about that?
You know what? I got to go ahead and just put this out there. Listen, man. The chances are you knew it was the opportunity you're gonna run into that person out there, but let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say you didn't know. You
Hmm.
know that whoever you talking to would want to know that. So if they ask you, "Hey, how did it go?" and you say, "Oh, it went great. Me and the friends had a good time," but then you ain't say, "Oh yeah, but my ex came over there and had a drink and we talked live." When you do stuff like that, I feel like that's the same thing as just lying about it because you could have just said that. Because what'll happen is
Mhm.
if that person finds out that that's what really happened, the first thing they'll do is come to you and say, "Hey, how come you didn't tell me?" This is gonna be,
Right.
"Well, I didn't think you wanted to know." All right, all right.
Right. So I guess the moral of the story is people, when it comes to revealing information, if it's something that you know your partner would want to know, despite how it may feel, make them feel, make you feel, just go ahead and put it out there. Because if they come back and find out, it's gonna be worse.
Right. Even if it's uncomfortable, I think that's what it is. Even though it sounds crazy, sometimes telling the truth feels uncomfortable because of what the truth is. But you need to tell it, they're going to find out anyway.
Maybe, but yeah, if they do, if they do, it's gonna create a lot of distrust in the relationship. But this may not just be a romantic style relationship; it could be any kind. I mean, a friend, a family member, or something like that. It's just good to keep it real, unless you don't plan on dealing with them at all anyway. And I guess in
That's
that.
true.
So I want to kind of move over to something. I thought this was interesting. I've been talking to a couple of people about this, and I want to start with the question. So you guys, when it comes to dating someone or creating a new friendship or relationship, how important is the love that they receive from their parents? And does it affect the relationship that they have with you at all? And can it be a situation where you feel like you're in competition with the love that they received or didn't receive from their parents to you?
I think it's important because I mean that's where they initially learn about love.
Okay.
I would have to agree with Journey. It's important to know because if they didn't have no type of relationship or they grew up in a non-affectionate or a hostile environment, you want to know because that kind of teaches you what love looks like to them.
You know what, ladies, you both kind of hit the nail on the head with your answers. And that's why I want to talk about this a little bit. How often do we ask about the relationship between our friends and spouses and their parents?
Not often.
Yeah, not often.
Well, I wanted to bring this to you guys and the listeners too, because you're going to compete with that love or the lack thereof. For example, if you meet someone and they've been brought up to believe that their opinion doesn't matter, if they've dealt with 20 years of that, could you be competing when you say, "Hey, your opinion does matter"? But they're having a hard time expressing themselves to you because it's in the back of their head they weren't loved enough coming up, so they don't even think that it's important for what they think to be expressed. Same thing with hugs and kisses and affection. If they grew up without it, you could give them all the affection in the world, but they still won't be able to fully receive it because maybe they don't see that as love. So you could be doing it out of what you feel is love, even though they may not even be feeling nothing at all. It could go so many different ways. Some people don't know it, but they may be expressing that they don't care about themselves all the time, like people that don't keep themselves up, or they'll spend more money on you than they spend on themselves because I believe that they grew up probably feeling like they don't matter, and someone else's well-being and someone else's thoughts and somebody else's feelings matter more than theirs. And the final thing is, when you try to have something serious with these types of people, or I don't say these types of people, but I'm just the people that have experienced this type of stuff, it can be extremely difficult for you to love them because the love that they're coming from is so inadequate, and you have to compete with trying to tell them you should be loved in a better way. I'm sorry that you didn't get the love that you needed, but it should be this, and then you have to sometimes compete with what they didn't get or what they did get. You understand what I'm saying? Like the ones that tell the kids you can do no wrong. Well, yes, you can.
Right.
Are you God's gift to the
Right. Or
world?
you're
No, you're not.
perfect.
Yeah, and you have to compete with that and say, you're really not like that. That's really not, and that can be very difficult to deal with when it comes to dealing with people. So, what do you guys think about that?
I definitely agree. Not so much on the relationship side, but I'm going to say about the friendship side with me and my best friend. I've known her for 20 something years, where I've come from a family where we walk out the door, we say, "I love you." You get a good grade, I say, "I love you." The dinner was good, we say, "We thank you." It was so much affection. But my mom would pay us in hugs. She was like, "All right, y'all get a hug if y'all wash the dishes." And we was just like, we really want a hug from mom. So I'm going to race to go wash these dishes. Now I think she was manipulating us, but but she didn't grow up in that type of household. And I would tell her bye. I would say, "I love you." And she would just be like, "Oh, okay." So I learned that like we grew up differently, and I would see how her family interacted and mine. So even in friendships, we learn love differently. And sometimes we just have to teach them that, yeah, you do deserve to be loved. You do deserve to have a voice. So that's my take on it.
Kind of like what you just mentioned, Joy, as a growing up perspective. My mom didn't receive that from her mother. Love, I love you, hugs and stuff like that. So growing up, my mother wasn't that affectionate with me. Occasionally I would hear the love you, but I think more so my mom was a giver. I was the only child, so I was spoiled. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much that was her way of showing me, things I wanted, I would get that. And I took that from my childhood with my kids now. I was very intentional about hugging them, telling them I love them, giving them kisses on the cheek. I was very intentional about doing that too. They do that now. And in return with that, they're like that with my mom. And so now it opened her up to be more affectionate and, I love you and stuff like that. So yeah, I do know that can take a toll. And if someone doesn't try to express emotions and stuff, it can trickle down to other relationships.
Absolutely. I want to dig in a little bit here as we come to a close. I just researched a couple of things and it said, and this is from brides.com. It says, "Your parents affect your future relationship. Here's how." And it reads, "Our parents' relationship is our first and most influential example of how to interact and communicate in a romantic relationship. How love is shown between parents is influential on the child. That makes sense because when you think about it, your parents are the only example of pretty much everything." And I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's another insert from another article. It says, "How do parents affect your future relationships?" Parents inadvertently teach us what's normal in a partnership through their own dynamic. So I think that that's very important too. That's why you see some people date drug addicts. That's why you see some people date, abusers and people that treat them kind of rough, but that's what they're used to. And then when you come in
Mm-hmm.
with a new flavor, they're like, "Oh, whoa, this is good," but I don't really understand this. But I want to ask our audience, are y'all out here lying? Tell telling half truths? And I also want to know, have y'all have experienced something like that? You feel like you just have to keep fighting with the person to compete with where they come from, and you know that you can have a great relationship with them, but for some reason it just seems like it's just something always in the way, and you know it's not nothing that you're really doing, but it's something that they're fighting with themselves. I want to know, man. Let us know down in the comments below. I want to thank y'all so much for always showing us so much support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you think can benefit from it. I am Swerver. This is Opinionated Facts. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Journey to be Great and Love Joy. And until next time, peace.